1. There was a lot that happened with this table, so I'm just going to try to tell the important parts to not make it a whole novel. I got this family of 6 in my section, a younger couple, maybe late teens, early 20s, and an older couple with children. This table wanted to order everything all at once to get it out of the way. When they order their apps and food, I just verified with them, asking if they still wanted the apps out first or together with the food. I ask because I get strange requests like this a lot. They kinda hurriedly replied all together. So I once again said, okay, I will put it all in at once. I put their order in and take care of my other tables. As I'm waiting on their food, I get sat another table. This one is the building's owner and his family. As the food comes out for the Karen's table, before I even have the chance to set the tray on the tray jack, she says, "Oh wow, here comes our food with our appetizers," in the most snarky Karen voice ever. I'm thrown back because she told me she wanted them out together, so I say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," when I asked if you wanted them out. Can't even finish my sentence before she says, "No, that's where you're wrong. You didn't ask." I really didn't want to argue with her because it'll just egg her on, and I wanted the owner next to us to not be too annoyed, so I just kept apologizing instead. Now she says a whole lot of rude and snarky comments as I continue passing out their food. And even her little daughter chimes in, "Mommy, stop being mean." And she proceeds to tell her young child to shut up. I am trying to stay calm because if I say the wrong thing, the owner will hear me, and I do not want to get on his bad side. I continue checking on the table, and she keeps finding things wrong. I'm still trying to be as overtly nice as I can. Eventually, she gets up and leaves to sit in her car while her family continues to eat. The rest of her family were super sweet, thankfully. After I checked them out, I'm still apologizing over and over again, because I must have misunderstood what she meant and I felt so bad. They were understanding at least. Once I finished with the owner's table, he gave me lots of compliments and a $20 on a $25 tab. He gets half off. Then the other table I was serving also slammed me with compliments and gave me $140. I'm sure they all felt so bad for me, but nothing is more embarrassing than having someone yell at you while the person who writes your checks is 5 feet away. Like I said at the beginning, a lot more happened, but I didn't get into it because it would make an even longer story. 2. This happened a couple of weeks ago, and I figured this was a decent story to share. I am not currently a server, but was in my younger years. My friend who was with me was also a server in her younger years, including as a cocktail waitress at a topless bar, so she takes zero bullshit. We are now both middle-aged women. She came into town and we went to eat brunch or lunch at a cafe near her rental. The place was a smallish cafe with great reviews. We sat outside and were eventually greeted by our young male server, late teens, early 20s. Things started off okay, and we got through most of the meal before the big problem started. I say big because already we had inconsistent service from him, but it wasn't enough to complain about or affect tips. It definitely helped that the food was excellent. So it comes to the end, and before I can say anything, the server dropped a dirty napkin on top of my food and removed my plate without asking me if I was finished. I did not have my silverware in a finished position either. Luckily, I was pretty much done and was only picking at it, but still, I felt a bit irritated. I thought about it and decided that everyone makes mistakes, and I really only need to decide whether I'm going to mention what he did to him to ensure that he doesn't do it to future customers. We request the checks, and my companion pays for both bills in cash. The change would have been $8.92, which my friend wanted because she wanted the small bills for future tips, and she was planning to switch that cash with a bigger cash tip. Wanted to give him $10, I think. Once she got the envelope back, well, he never brought the change, but he hadn't said goodbye or anything, so after 20 minutes my friend goes up to look for him so she can get her change. My friend was convinced that he had assumed the money was his, never asked, and so she had it in her mind to set him right, especially after the earlier goofs. Also important to mention is that we are sitting outside and there are several full tables of mostly elderly regulars. There had been 2 different attempts by visitors to sit at a table to be served, but were never helped. One straight up left and the other guy did too, but came back a minute later because he was a regular who wanted his regular order. I get it, food was so good. My friend returned to the table, and the waiter arrived at the table shortly after. My friend inquired after her change, and the server starts sputtering and speaking in half-sentences, and just generally uncomfortably fumbling around. At one point he tried to say something about not having the right change, but then can't elaborate. Then it was something about bringing her $5 or something like that, because reasons, and at this point all of the tables are listening and some are participating, trying to get the server to understand the simple request that my friend wants the change that is due to her, period. And no language barrier. The one clear thing he did say, "I didn't know you wanted it. I didn't know you wanted your change." Come on, man. He then starts lying to counter her criticism. "I was watching out here. It wasn't 20 minutes, etc." So she takes the opportunity to point out the elderly regular who started to leave but didn't. Elderly dude agrees. The rest of the porch is now kinda yelling at the waiter, because no one is really this obtuse, right? My friend finally has enough of him, and she stood up to go inside to talk to the manager. This kid flips out, puffs out his chest, and goes completely aggro like he's going to fight my friend. "What are you gonna do? Huh? What are you gonna do? What you gonna do?" And he's getting into fighting mode, putting things in his apron so his hands were free, balling his fists up, etc. My friend, who is pretty unflappable, looked at him like he was an idiot and said, "I'm going to see the manager. What is wrong with you?" The elderlies are now making loud noises to indicate their shock and disapproval noises at the waiter, and so he wisely chooses to follow my friend inside. While she is inside, the owner comes outside, a male, to address the elderly man who had left but returned. I think it was right about this time that I learned that the owner is the waiter's dad, and manager is probably mom to this horribly acting kid, and the dad's weak attempts to excuse the kid's behavior did not go well with the crowd. "Is busy. Will never excuse your son trying to fight a middle-aged woman, sorry." Owner ducks back inside once he basically got booed by the elderlies. A woman at another table starts talking to me and mentions she thinks the waiter has ADHD. But usually they still enjoy their visits. I shut that down immediately. But now I'm irritated, because I'm a former mental health clinician and her blame needed to be corrected, and I wasn't sure I could do it. However, some of his behavior made much more sense to me with that information. Waiter then comes outside, points at me, who has been nothing but nice and hasn't even looked at him since the disagreement began, because, honestly, I was trying not to laugh at the absurdity of his attempts at explanation, and issues me a vague threat about being in big trouble, something please, to which I just stared at him, followed by slowly saying, "Dude, I haven't said shit to you. Stop." He jawed a bit more, then went back inside. My friend came out the door with her cash, and we left. Waiter trailing after her and yelling something ridiculous after us. Apparently, Waiter's mom chewed him a new one inside the store, so at least someone has some sense. I'd go back if the kid wasn't there, but given the dad's reaction, I doubt I'll have the opportunity. Shame, because the food was damn good. 3. For context, I work at a massive chain restaurant that is also a retail place that is known for offering home-style cooking in a southern atmosphere in Arkansas. Our location doesn't serve alcohol, by the way. I always preface with that, because if you've worked in the place I'm referencing, you know serving alcohol changes the dynamic of the serving a bit. But anyways, I'm young enough that I can't serve it anyways, but old enough so I don't need to work so little hours. I agreed to do a double last Sunday because my manager asked me, and he really needed the help, so I was willing to come in. Typically, since I'm still in school, I only work dinner shift. Naturally, dinner shift typically has younger people. All of us are good servers, It's just that they're far more selfish with their tables in a sense. They won't help you bus at all, or even get a table drinks. The best they can do is make me a loaded baked potato every now and then. Morning shift obviously has far more adults on it, put bluntly, but manager put me and another server in the third dining room. I have half, he has the other. This was something that worried me, because on dinner shift there is always 3 to 4 servers bare minimum in the dining room. Mind you, we have 2 peak periods, one during breakfast and one during dinner, so there isn't much of a difference in the number of guests. After working that shift with the server Douglas, he completely blew me away. Me and him would tell each other when we got sat and if we needed any help. This made everything much more manageable. I even grabbed a bus tub and bussed his tables for him when I had nothing to do, which he was very grateful for. That's not the only person who showed better communication as well. The host, Travis, asked me every few times I got sat if I was doing okay, and he told me if I needed any help getting a drink order or something to just ask. And if I felt overwhelmed, he would stagger my seating more. We had a 13 top come in during this shift, and even that was a breeze. Douglas grabbed them. He's been serving for years. I've only been doing it a month. I felt like he would be better suited to handle it, and I picked up any tables he didn't feel like he could handle, along with this big top. By the time I went on break, our dining room was spotless, and neither of us had one void, comp, or unhappy guest. Mind you, this shift was from 9 to 3. Then I got an hour break. Honestly, with this experience, I've come to enjoy the breakfast shift a lot, and I hope I'm able to get more of them. I never knew that this level of communication, teamwork, and genuine care for one another pushed 2 people to be able to handle an entire dining room without a single error. I don't mean to be a braggart with this paragraph or anything, but this has made me feel way more confident, and I can now genuinely tell myself that just a month into this job, I was able to handle half a dining room by myself. It really made the whole thing special, and honestly, has made me very happy. Anyone else have a story of how a new level of communication and professionalism made their serving easier, or just changed it? 4. Let me introduce you to the Billy Bean method. No. I'm not here to be your best friend. I'm not that annoying co-worker of Jennifer Aniston's in Office Space, or that cluelessly friendly dude in Breaking Bad, serving the Whites and the Schraders when they're confronting each other. I will be polite. I'll try to be upbeat. Hell, I'll even try to make you laugh. But never will I go out of my way to make you feel special. If we have chemistry and end up talking about shit we're both into, rock on. But always remember that I have other tables and I'm trying to give you all the best service possible. And guess what? I will get you your free refill before you're even done with your last drink, or even think to ask, more than the vast majority of servers. I'll always be suggesting upsells, but only if it's something I'll pay for myself if I'm out. And I'll always be using language that at least implies you'll be paying more. I'll always be watching your cocktail, beer or wine, and be asking you if you want another when you're over halfway through. It matters to me that you get your food promptly, because I take pride in my work ethic, and just being a competent individual. I'll communicate to you as much as possible the things I can't entirely control, but am working to, and will manage your expectations when that control isn't happening. If you're not understanding, I'll grab a manager for you to talk to. But if you're not happy that I'm not more personable, that I'm not kissing your ass, go ahead and leave, and I'll flip the table, or just get more if I'm in rotation, and get more tables and make more money. If you're an entitled individual, I'm going to deprioritize you. Getting you to tip well isn't worth it because I'm not in the ass-kissing business. That guy kissing your ass hardcore right now has other tables at this moment, asking where the hell their server is. I'm in the meal estate business. This idea that we have to hold a customer's hand and kiss their ass and tell them how good it tastes is stupid. It's for the people who misplace their pride for the money they make on the job they do. And I'm sorry, but serving is not a job you should take innate pride in. Not that there's anything shameful about it. It just happens to be one of the easiest ways to make money there is. and people try to mentally justify this by making the job all about kissing ass. You can spot these people when they overemphasize how important hospitality is. Like they see their guests as children that deserve to be cuddled, or potential buddies they just want to chill with. We're in the food and drink business, and good hospitality means jack shit if you can't give good service to all the tables you have. There will be guests who tip you poorly no matter how special you make them feel, and guests will demand you make them feel special, even despite the poor tip they will give. The ass-kissing line of thinking encourages guests to come in to be treated like royalty, and nurses some of the worst qualities for adults to carry in themselves. I love going out as a guest, but I do it to relax more than anything. I don't need a personal assistant making me feel like I'm more special than I am in that environment. Sometimes I hit it off with my server and we talk a lot, but I try to be conscious of not letting them neglect their job for me. Sometimes I just want to be left alone. Being a guest doesn't mean you're excused from practicing common courtesy and common sense. If you forget these things or never learn them, and have the servers like me, that's why you're getting charged for frivolous shit like ranch or sour cream or honey mustard. Boost the sales. You'll end up making more than the ass-kissers. Your percentage may not be as high, but who really cares? The ass-kissers will tell you work too hard, but if you're like me, making the job into socialized manual labor isn't hard at all. Jerking off strangers' egos annoys me, and will always feel like more work than just doing the social and mental equivalent of mowing the lawn. Juggle your tables well, be efficient, be productive, and always be aware of your surroundings. Obviously, this line of thinking doesn't necessarily apply to fine dining, though I could be wrong. I'm told that in fine dining, servers are meant to interact with the table as little as possible, but it's still a whole different ballgame that I've never been part of. Afterthought. Unless it's a dessert business, desserts are dumb and hold back sales from being higher. They're usually cheaper than your best alcoholic drinks, and certainly are less than entrees. They also are part of the meal that encourages the guest to savor the experience more than any other. Not to mention that they're at least close to full, and therefore also eating slower, because of that, for less money. You're tacking on average, another 20 minutes to a table for minimal increases in sales, when you could just flip the table and start selling more of the expensive stuff again. My last location got rid of desserts a few years ago. Too many dessert businesses getting added next door to us. And our sales rose. From the same logic, put your appetizer focus into the apps that you are quickest to get out. If they are a pre-made app, like chips and salsa, for instance, assuming this isn't given for free, then push that over the stuff that takes more time. Yeah, I'm the asshole server, but once I learn the location, it's probable that I'm doing more than the ass kisser. Taking more tables, helping support staff more, getting parties in and out in a timely fashion, selling more, and at the end of the day, making more too. 5. Years ago, I worked at a really wealthy country club bartending and serving. It was owned and managed by a couple of really out-of-touch rich alcoholics. That's not relevant to this story, but would be to 1,000 others. Anyway, things could have been much better, but they could have been worse too, I guess. It was the kind of place where things functioned the way they were, but you just really wanted to see better. Pretty much everywhere. Glassware, the bar, shit, even the elevator was run down. Old carpets, ripped wobbly leather seats. But this place had stupid money to blow and members were getting aggravated that management wasn't doing any updates, or even putting on a fresh coat of paint when it was needed. One thing that always stood out, though, was our kitchen. It was clean, and our kitchen staff were a bunch of rock stars. Could handle any rush, Kentucky Derby. Whatever you threw at this place, they'd crank out the most immaculate plates every single time. Delicious food, perfectly prepared. Never a long wait. I seriously don't know how they did it, but I've never worked at a place with a better functioning kitchen. I only ever sent one thing back in my entire time there, and it was because his scrambled eggs weren't raw enough. Dude literally wanted mostly raw scrambled eggs. What the fuck? Now, the kitchen staff barely made enough to stay afloat. They were the reason people chose this club over others, yet management couldn't pay them a living wage. So, whenever they were gonna toss food on its best-by date, most of the kitchen staff would jump in and grab stuff to bring home to feed their families. They're not taking anything the company would otherwise sell. It's literally food destined for the garbage bin. People started getting written up for it. But the employees didn't stop. It was literally garbage in the company's eyes. Management eventually started threatening them with losing their jobs, and the employees responded with, "Fine, sell the food to us for a discount, or pay us more so we can afford to feed our kids." Management said no, so everyone quit. I'm talking every single kitchen employee except the head chef. This was a big deal to everyone. We had all been telling management to just back off, otherwise take them up on their counteroffer to pay them more or sell it for a discount. So one day, everyone's favorite line cook, Sonia, was getting reamed out in the kitchen downstairs by management for taking a tiny little 6-ounce salmon fillet that was getting trashed. It attracted a crowd of employees from the pub, the restaurant, the banquet staff upstairs, the kitchen staff from upstairs. There was probably 20 to 30 people that came into the downstairs kitchen to see what the ruckus was. Sonia took off her apron, said, "Respectfully, sir, you are not worth struggling for." All of the kitchen staff, both upstairs and downstairs, took off their aprons and walked out. The country club members caught wind of what happened pretty quickly since our kitchens closed to further notice, and they suddenly couldn't order food anymore. Some of the richer members hired the kitchen staff as employees of their own estates, whether for cooking, cleaning, maintenance, etc. One guy, Walt, even helped a lady start her own cleaning business, and she employed a couple of the ex-employees of the club too. They ended up making living wages for much friendlier bosses who genuinely wanted to see these good people do well in life. I stopped working there shortly after this fiasco. I had heard recently management couldn't figure out their exceedingly high turnover rate. Had some other scandals, the members were all leaving. So they were pretty much forced to sell the club to a much larger company. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 168. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you enjoyed the video, then please do share it around with all your friends and family. I very much appreciate it when you do so. Also, just an update, if you were planning to send anything to the Hellfreezer P.O. Box, don't. It's too late now. It closes, I think it's next Saturday, but it would be too late to send anything now. So I'll remove the address from all the videos I've put it in. Gonna take me a while, but I'll do that. And I may open it again later in the year. We'll see. Alright, this is Saturday. Unless you're watching it on Sunday, in which case, hello. Or any other day in the future. So if you are watching the day goes up, well, I am uncertain about a stream. I woke up at about 6 a.m, I think, just after 6. So we'll see. If I get a nap, there'll be a stream. If I don't, there won't, because I'll be sleeping at that time. I'll be sleeping at the time we usually do a stream. We'll see. I like to try and get my sleeping schedule back to normal. Okay, and with that little grumble, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.